Welcome back to the channel. The video I'm about to do is where I'm going to look at how I think Manchester United are going to set up from a tactical point of view, and also what I think our go-to 11 will be. I do expect there to be at least one more signing, and I think that's going to be a midfielder. And I think there's a good chance that's going to be Sander Berg. So I will refer to Sander Berg in this, but it could be Ugarte, it could be Rabiot, it could be somebody that we've not even thought of. But I do think there will be another midfield signing. Now, when Ten Hag joined Manchester United, we all expected him to play with this very Ajax style of play. I think a lot of us thought the reason he'd been signed as Manchester United manager was because of the style of football that we saw Ajax implement that was very successful for him. Now, last year, he was quoted as saying that United had to be a little bit more direct and we had to rely on long balls and a bit more adaptable because he didn't have the personnel to be able to carry out the specific roles that he wanted to play in order to play that sort of Ajax style of play. He also did a really good interview with Gary Neville where he spoke about not wanting to teach a different style of play to the players, but rather wanting to try and keep the consistent philosophy so he didn't have to teach them to multiple styles of play. Now, I actually think that this season, you're going to see the closest representation of that Ajax team that was so successful for Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United, because we're already seeing really obvious elements of it in terms of the build-up, in terms of the press, and actually in terms of the personnel. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the base formation. United are probably going to continue and persist with the 4-2-3-1. But as you're going to see, Erik Ten Hag's philosophy and approach is far more fluid. The recent signing of De Ligt and also Mazraoui, along with the anticipated signing of a progressive or destroyer midfielder, is going to be crucial to unlocking those tactical possibilities. The players bring specific qualities that are going to allow United to sort of mimic and even potentially improve on the shapes that we saw Ten Hag unleash at Ajax. So let's start with the goalkeeper. Now, obviously, Onana, he's got the ability to play as a sweeper keeper. He's excellent with the ball at his feet. His ability as a sweeper keeper is vital for the system, where building out from the back is non-negotiable. Onana's distribution, both long and short, is going to be the foundation of how United are going to play, helping initiate the build-up and also beating the first line of the opponent's press. Right back. At right back, we have a couple of choices, tactical choices between Diogo Dalot and Mazraoui. Dalot brings a little bit of consistency and leadership. I think he really gets Manchester United and he's a reliable option. But the signing of Mazraoui is particularly interesting because of his ability to invert into midfield, which we saw Dalot doing. Actually, we saw Dalot sort of inverting very high up the pitch, especially when he's playing on the left, to a pretty good degree of success, and I wonder if that's going to be something we continue to see. But when we talk about Mazraoui for a second, the ability for him to invert into midfield from that right-back position was something that allowed him to form a double pivot with one of the holding midfielders. That was crucial in establishing that 3-2-5 shape that was very successful for Ten Hag at Ajax, providing numerical superiority down the centre line of the pitch and allowing Ajax to dominate possession. Now, at United, you could well see Mazraoui performing an identical role. He tucks inside to partner with the new number 6, let's call it Sander Berg for now, because I think that there's a good chance it's going to be. And that inversion allows United to form a back three in and out of possession. And when I'm talking about out of possession, I'm talking about the immediate transition to being out of possession. You've got 5 players there ready to recover the ball after you've got 5 players that are hopefully going to go and press the ball at the other end. But that back three would probably be somebody like a Luke Shaw, Martinez, and Yoro or De Ligt on the other side. Now, it could also go the other way around. It could be Luke Shaw providing the width, Mazraoui tucks in. You know, there's multiple ways for this to be flexible. But you're going to want the wingers high and wide, creating a 5, and then 5 in behind it. Dalot, I think he provides the more traditional sort of width. He can slot in at left back if needed, but I would expect him, when we're establishing that that 3-2-5, instead of inverting into midfield, you might see Menu stay into midfield, and you might see Delo push all the way up and going off of the sort of right-hand side width option. I think the signing of Mazraoui is really, really tactically interesting for that, because it gives us fluidity and flexibility. The sort of thing that you've seen City getting lauded for with John Stones pushing up into that number 6 position. Well, United could do the same. And actually, United could do the same without any of the back line providing width, because you've also seen Lisandro Martinez do that. And we saw Lisandro Martinez doing that a couple of times last season, where he was getting onto the second line ahead of Varane and looking to receive the ball from Varane. I wouldn't rule that out either. Basically, United are going to build up with a 3 and a 2. And actually, because of the personnel that we've now got within that backline and the options that we've got within that backline, it could be any number of people in the 3 and any number of people in the 2. Left side centre-half, Lisandro Martinez. Crucial piece in the jigsaw, not just for the capabilities that he's got defensively, which I absolutely love, but his ability to carry the ball out of defence and break the lines with his passing. At Ajax, he was often the left-handed side of what looked like a three-man backline during the build-up, and his role was to progress the ball into midfield, or potentially even further and try and find the final third, sometimes bypassing the midfield altogether. At United, well, it's the same thing. Sometimes steps into midfield when he needs, helps sustain pressure in the opposition half. The partnership with De Ligt could be one of the best in the league. That combines both technical ability and defensive solidity, and they've already got an existing relationship with each other. And this is such a good move for the money that we've got to bring De Ligt in alongside Martinez. And the injury worries that you have with Martinez, which, I think are perfectly valid injury worries to have, with the backup of the likes of Johnny Evans, probably Harry Maguire, and you've also got Leny Yoro's got no pressure on him now to come back into the side. If you do get an injury to Lisandro Martinez, it's not the catastrophic issue that it was last season. So I'm very, very confident about this with Lisandro Martinez in the mix. Now, at right side centre-half, you've got Leny Yoro, who is your replacement for Varane. Okay, he's injured, so he's replaced him in far more ways than we expected. But also now Matthias de Ligt. Now, de Ligt, I think he's going to be one of the best signings of the summer, and his arrival changes the whole dynamic of United's defence. At Ajax, de Ligt was the leader, and he was often the central figure in that back three during build-up, which allowed the team to push up one or both of the fullbacks higher up the pitch. His ability to play out from the back, which I've seen some people saying that he can't do, and I just assumed they'd never seen him play, coupled with the fact that he's aerially dominant, making him absolutely integral to both the defensive and offensive phases. Now, at United, de Ligt's gonna reprise the same role, man. He's gonna be part of the back three in possession alongside Martinez, potentially Shaw, or it could even be Yoro. United might even just line up in a back three at times once Yoro comes back into the mix. And Yoro, obviously, we've already spoken about him loads. Another exciting talent with a world-class ceiling. He's going to provide depth at right side centre-back. There is no pressure on him to come back into the team. And because there are, injury worries amongst all of our defenders, 3 for 2 is fantastic. He's going to fill in if de Ligt is unavailable. He's going to fill in if Martinez is unavailable. And I think the combination of the experience and leadership that you get with de Ligt and the youthfulness that you get from Yoro gives United a real solid foundation at the back. At left back, Luke Shaw is going to remain a key figure at the club, and his ability to overlap, underlap, invert into midfield is going to be absolutely crucial to the system. Now, at Ajax, we saw Tagliafico often push higher up the pitch, and the right back kind of inverted to give you that 3-2-5 sort of shape. That allowed Ajax to maintain width on both flanks and also have numbers in midfield and defence. At United, again, I think that's the role that Shaw's going to play. He can do both. So let's see him do both. If Mazraoui inverts, let him get up, let him get high, let him go and support the left winger. That movement's going to be absolutely crucial in stretching the opposition and creating overloads in the final third. The versatility that you've got with Shaw means that he could tuck inside to form part of the back three. If required, he can do that. He could also invert into the midfield if required. We saw him doing that a few times last season. Or he's going to be effective in the final third. The only question mark we've got over Luke Shaw is his fitness. And United will struggle to find someone of the same level of ability as he's got And they might choose to downgrade someone who's not quite as good if they can give you more reliability. But in terms of the actual abilities that he brings to this shape and this formation and why it would be successful, Ten Hag must have pulled all his hair out, wondering how he can get a fit Luke Shaw, because he's absolutely perfect for this system. He just can't stay fit. If he stays fit, United are going to be a problem, because that entire back line is absolutely banging for what Manchester United need to do to be able to play the style of football that Erik Ten Hag wants. Now, midfield. Now, the number 6 role, we need a signing to sort of redefine what our midfield is all about. Casemiro, I think, could do a job for United, play once a week, get subbed on the 60th minute, give us some options and have a little bit of quality and bring a little bit of sparkle to what is a midfield that needs it. Now, let's say it's Sander Berg. What does Sander Berg bring in? At Ajax, the holding midfield role, to a greater or lesser degree, was Frankie de Jong. Now, Frankie de Jong is not a holding midfielder. He was there because he was essential in progressing the ball from deep. Is Sander Berg going to do that? Yeah, I think he's going to try and assume that sort of role. Personally, think we need someone who's a little bit more of a destroyer. But the role of de Jong was to evade pressure and move the ball forward. And that was key to the build-up that Ajax were trying to create. At United, obviously it's not Frankie de Jong. I mean, I'm sure Ten Hag's still trying, but it won't be Frankie de Jong. I think Berg could and probably would assume that role. He has got a physical presence and he does have a strong passing range. I don't think he's on the same level, obviously, as Frankie de Jong, but he is capable of shielding defence and also initiating attacks. In the 3-2-5, he would be the one that would look to partner either Shaw, Mazraoui, or even potentially Martinez, and actually De Ligt, in that 2 role that's in front of the 3. Creating a bit of a solid double pivot that controls the tempo and transitions the ball effectively. And potentially stops the absolute game of basketball that United had last season. So he's underwhelming. I think I would prefer a more action-based midfielder, but when we look at what's Ten Hag trying to do, it's Ajax 2.0, isn't it? That's what he's trying to do. And then on the on-paper formation with a 4-2-3-1, the number 8 alongside him, Kobbie Mainoo. Now, Mainoo has emerged as one of the most exciting talents in world football, and his role this season will be pivotal. Breakout season last season, and everyone was just blown away by him. Where does he take it to this year? Now, at Ajax, this role was Donny van der Beek. Remember him? He was tasked with linking play between the deep midfield and the attacking line, and often made runs deep into the box to support the attack, right? This is exactly what he's all about. At United, it's Mainoo. Thrives when he gets the freedom to push higher up the pitch, has got the technical ability to play in and around the box, to be someone that knits together those crucial passes in the final third. And if he's got Berg and an inverted or pushed up centre-half, or an inverted fullback or a pushed up centre-half in the 2 behind him, Mainoo can focus on getting on the ball and using those futsal skills to great effect in the final third. Linking up with Fernandes or Mount in the final third, being that advanced midfielder and creating chances for United and helping us score goals. So that works for me. The number 10 is Bruno Fernandes, right? Mason Mount is also going to be in the squad in that kind of role as well, but we have options now in how we set up that attacking midfield sort of role. At Ajax, you would see Ziyech or Tadic, sometimes given the freedom to roam, drop into pockets of space and try and create opportunities. Ziyech in particular would drift. He would go wide and he would look to deliver crosses or cut inside and shoot. Tadic played a little bit more like a false 9 and he would link space and try and create space for the wingers. And you sort of go, actually, yeah, the tendencies Bruno Fernandes has, you can see him operating the Ziyech sort of role, even though they are different players. And the way Tadic played, you can also sort of see how Mason Mount would play. So you see that those roles can be fulfilled by slightly different players doing the same kind of role. So this season, I would expect Bruno operates still in the 10, where the creativity and the vision are unmatched. He creates the most chances in the Premier League and he's fantastic at it. Mount does offer a different dynamic. Mount could replace Bruno as a more direct option. He could even play alongside him in a more advanced role if United did go to the 3-1-6 shape in attack. Probably when we're facing a team we expect to beat but might come up against a low block. And he's also been useful as a false nine in the past, very similar to what Tadic was doing at Ajax, where the movement and that pressing ability disrupts the opposition defence and creates space for the wingers and also Rasmus Højlund. I think the attack lacks a little bit of quality to it, but I think there are some decent options. In the wing positions, United have got talent. We've got Marcus Rashford, we've got Garnacho, you've got Diallo, you've got Sancho, you've got Antony. Now, there's at least a couple of those players that are going to want to get moved on, namely Antony and Sancho. And actually, people are on the fence about Marcus. Right or wrong, they are. Ajax, the wingers, Neres and Antony in later years were crucial in sort of stretching play and providing width. They were given the task of cutting in and creating shooting opportunities and combining with fullbacks that would provide width ahead of them. At United, you're looking at the likes of Rashford and Garnacho cutting inside from the left, on the right, Antony coming in and twatting one over the bar. But actually, I really like how Ahmad plays the game. He really, really suits operating in that right half space, which really begs for like a Dalot to be operating in the wing space to the right of him. And I think the dynamic of how we stretch opposition across the back with that five. We're going to put 5 up against 4 in the back line and holding that width. That dynamic is going to be so key to opening up the space in the central areas for the likes of Mainoo, for the likes of Fernandes, and for the likes of Rasmus Højlund or even Zirkzee in the centre of the pitch. The width is important. If you could roll it back to the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer Manchester United days, we were all left side focused, and Wan-Bissaka was the guy that was kind of holding the width, and the opposition used to go, don't fucking worry about him. And then they used to stack all on one side, and United struggled to break them down at times. You know, a team is effective when they're unpredictable, and United can be unpredictable by having this width right across the length of the pitch and people holding their positions. And it's not a straight line. It's like a W. So you would expect Mainoo and Bruno, let's call him Bruno Fernandes to sort of operate in the half spaces a little bit and push wider, or you might see one of them dropping off deep into the hole, especially if there's going to be a 6 across that line. You certainly can't have them all on the same line. You need the depth to be able to bounce stuff from. And we saw a little bit against Manchester City where centrally we played a lot of one-touch passes and we absolutely cooked Manchester City. And because Marcus held his width on the left-hand side, there was a goal-scoring opportunity which Marcus should have done a little bit better with. But you're already seeing how this could work, and I like it. Now, the strikers. We have 2 very, very different strikers in Højlund and Zirkzee. Now, at Ajax, you had Huntelaar as well as Haller. The focal point, the more traditional sense, was those 2, but Ten Hag also used the false 9, Tadic, a lot to sort of drop deep and link play, depending on what sort of opposition he was up against. Particularly went to that sort of shape when he was expecting an opposition to sit back and defend the box. There's no space to run into behind. The likes of Højlund get nullified by doing that, so let's play with a false 9 and let's play in front of the defence and let's knit it a little bit. At United, you would expect Højlund is a more traditional sort of style of striker. He's got the physicality, he's got the pace, he likes to get in behind, he likes to stretch defences, he can hold the line, he can get on the end of crosses, he can get on the end of through balls. Zirkzee, very, very different, more technical, capable of playing as the false 9, capable of dropping deep, similar to how Tadic used to do it in a way. Particularly going to be effective if we do end up in that 3-1-6 shape where he's going to drop deep, allow the wingers, allow the midfielders to push beyond him and create overloads in the final third. And I've talked about the shapes a little bit there. I'm going to talk on the shapes in possession a little bit and what they mean. So 3-2-5, you've seen a lot of teams shape up in a 3-2-5 at the moment. But it was something that Ten Hag did while he was at Ajax. Now, the team would transition from very much a 4-3-3. United are more of a 2-3-1. They were very much a 4-3-3. But he did play 4-2-3-1 at times. Now, they would transition into a 3-2-5 during the build-up. very, very frequently. That involved Mazraoui, or the right back, inverting into midfield to create that double pivot, and then the left back pushed up high up the field. The wingers stayed wide, the attacking midfielder and the forward occupied those central kind of spaces. At United, I just see it the same. Mazraoui more likely to invert, Dalot more likely to push on. But you can easily see, let's just say it's Mazraoui for the ease of doing the graphics. Mazraoui inverts alongside, let's say it's Berg, let's say it's Casemiro or Berg, forming a bit of a double pivot there. You could see Shaw staying as part of the back three behind, or you could see him pushing up on the left-hand side, creating width, and giving you the option of that 5 right across there. Bruno or Mount in the 10, Højlund leading the line. That shape allows United to have control in the middle, in midfield, and having plenty of attacking options in the final third. The back three there, Martinez, De Ligt, or Yoro, and Shaw, ensures you've got defensive stability, even when you've got one full back push right up and 5 across the back line. The 3-1-6 shape, you would expect when United are dominating possession, when we're pushing an opponent back, when they are in a low block, that starts to transition into a 3-1-6 kind of shape. Now, at Ajax, that was done to just completely overload in the final third, and Ajax would often do that by pushing the fullbacks up to join the attack, creating that 6-man front line, or the entire midfield kind of vacates into the back line, and one of the fullbacks, sometimes Mazraoui, would come and be the central kind of pivot in front of the back three. Sometimes that single pivot would just remain as De Jong, and he would stay just in front of the back three and look to recycle possession and also be the first line of attack in preventing a counter-attack. At United, you could see it as Berg if he's going to take the De Jong one up, or it could be Mazraoui, or it could be Shaw, depending on which players have pushed up to go and support the attack. That front 6 then, again, can't be in a straight line, but the likes of Bruno, the likes of Zirkzee, the likes of Menu, offering depth in that forward line. Even the likes of Ahmad, they don't necessarily like to play on the shoulder, they like to come on the inside a little bit, and that's where it's important to get the sort of team right. This is where you might see Højlund and Zirkzee deployed, so they're not coming in onto the same line. Because the thing I was complaining about with England in the summer is every single player wanted the ball to feet and nobody wanted to stretch the pitch. United have got lots of players that want to stretch the pitch, but you could find a United team that wants the ball to feet. So it's important that you don't play all of the feet players at the same time, and that you have the likes of a Marcus or a Garnacho or a Højlund that are going to want to try and stretch the pitch in behind, which allows the effectiveness of Ahmad coming to feet, the effectiveness of Zirkzee or Bruno coming to feet, because then as they come to feet, someone makes an opposite run and you've stretched a defence. It's very easy to defend against a team that just wants it to feet, but United have got the blend of both. So it's important that United use the blend of both. Now, when it comes to playing without the ball, we've started to see United pressing in a 4-2-4 shape to try and regain the ball quickly. At Ajax, that's what he did. It was the front four, the wingers, a striker, and one of the attacking midfielders pushed up high to force the opposition into mistakes. The double pivot would try and cover the space in front of the defence, try and cut off passing lanes, and try and be ready to intercept any sort of loose balls. United fell short of that last season because the defence was slow and defence left real big gaps between themselves and the midfield. So whoever was in midfield had to cover like 40 metres square, couldn't do it, got overrun, and United ended up conceding like 20-something shots per game because of the spaces that were left there. Now, with a much more aggressive backline and a much more effective backline that's able to actually cover in behind it should it go over, you stop that at source, and the midfield looks tighter because of what's right up behind it. So I expect a similar approach now we've got those. The front four, Bruno, a striker, and the wingers, let's be honest, because Bruno's pretty much the only one that's going to fill in there. They press aggressive. They look to try and win the ball back immediately. Behind them, your midfield, Menu, if he's dropped off, they're going to look to try and hold that midfield line, ensuring that any loose balls that go into there get swept up, probably played back to the defence, recycled it, and will restart the attack. But it's important that you try and win the ball back in the opposition half. Once it breaks over the halfway line, the shape goes to shit, and you've got to try and get back, recover it, and then go again. That was where United really broke down. It was those 2-3 seconds after losing possession. The gaps were huge last season, and that's why United got turned so badly on the transition. That's what needs to happen. It's got to be compact from front to back. If that front line presses, which we've seen really, really effectively against Manchester City, then the back line has to be backing it up, and the midfield has to be right on top of that back line, because if the defence drops even 10 yards, the gaps in between the defence and the midfield are too much, and you get turned around. So I think with the addition of De Ligt and Mazraoui to go with Yoro and Zirkzee and potentially Berg, United start to look like we're able to implement Ten Hag's tactical vision. Now, I've been saying quite a bit all the way through pre-season that I don't feel like we've improved the starting 11 very much. And I kind of still think that's the case. But the issue hasn't necessarily been that the starting 11 is shit at United. It's more a case of that it's not necessarily been able to play the way that Ten Hag wants us to play. We've added depth. We've added strength. You know, we're starting to look at like 3 players competing now for 2 starting spots across several positions. We've got 3 fullbacks for 2 positions. We've got 3 centre-halves that you'd be happy playing this system for 2 positions. You know, midfield doesn't quite have that. If you've got Berg and Casemiro and Menu, now you start to look like you've got 3 for 2 again in midfield. You've got 2 for 1 really in the sort of starting lineup there with Bruno's position. Or if you talk about, you know, we've seen United effectively play a pair of false nines in Bruno and Mount against Manchester City. If you started to include those positions as kind of like one role, if you like, from the striker to the 10, well, having Højlund and Zirkzee and Mount and Bruno starts to look like you've got a bit more depth now. And also, obviously, Zirkzee can play off the side as well. I think you're going to see United playing some tactically fluid, aggressive, sophisticated football at Old Trafford. Now, it won't be immediate, but it does help that a couple of the signings that we've made have already played under Erik Ten Hag. This season could be a massive game changer for United as we look to try and be a serious football team on the pitch again. We've won a couple of trophies, but we've been miles off it in the league. Let me know in the comments, can you see what he's trying to build? Can I actually see what he's trying to build, or am I just absolutely waffling Macca? But let me know how you think this system will do next season. Make sure to subscribe if you like this sort of video. Please leave your comments in below as well and your thoughts on how this season is going to get off. And I will see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.